Good Wednesday evening, high school sports fans. Joe Gilloway with Lingelstown Gazette Sports live from the Orchard Street studio. And this is episode 33 of our weekly podcast, Gazette Sports Chat, where we'll get to know participants from various realms of the high school sports world. The student athletes who play the games, the coaches who coach them, and others connected in different ways to the entire experience. We'll introduce you to tonight's guest in just a moment as soon as we're done thanking those responsible for bringing you tonight's show. Our Lingelstown Gazette Sports Platinum sponsors, and they are Rickabah's Electric, Payer Apparel, Ted's Bar and Grill, Freedom Financial Wealth Management, the Tire Mart, Team PA, AAU Basketball, Tonino's Pizza, American Legion Post 272, Hoffman Ford, Capital Region Insurance Agency, Modern Imprint, Sam Hartley Decking, Crystal Bobbitt, Howard Hanna Real Estate, and Underdog Sports Bar and Grill. Thanks again to these great local businesses for their continued support of Lingelstown Gazette Sports and our area's student athletes. Up this Sunday again, and every Sunday until the end of the season, we have our high school hoops recap show. It's boys basketball. We have a panel, and we have another special guest, opening guest, Coach Sean Schreffler from Chambersburg. So we've had some real heavy hitters, some great coaches, some great guys. And Coach Schreffler is coming off of a big opening round win over rival Carlisle. So be interesting to see how Coach Schreffler's team's holding up and how they're prepared to make another run in the district tournament. We also have one more that we're working on is Unified Bocce. I don't know if you're familiar with Unified Bocce. I was just at a match today. I think it was a playoff match. But we're going to get some of those student athletes together, and we're going to interview them. So tonight's show will concentrate on where things stand in this 2024-2025 girls high school basketball season in South Central PA and beyond. We'll discuss the regular season in all four Mid-Penn Conference divisions, touch on the Mid-Penn Conference tournament, and then discuss the teams we feel have opportunities for legitimate postseason runs. We'll then spotlight some of the individual players who've made their mark on this season. And we'll do all of this with the help of our new friend, Mr. Bob Bonner, our older friend, Jeff Kaufman, and our recurring guest panelist for many years now, one of the top girls high school basketball writers in the state of Pennsylvania, PennLive Patriot News sports journalist, Mr. Eric Epler. But first, we're joined by a 6-year head coach of one of the top girls basketball programs in the state. His Altoona have already captured the Mid-Penn Commonwealth Division and Mid-Penn Tournament titles, with their sights set on a rubber match with State College in the District 6 championship game this Friday. And we'd like to welcome in Altoona coach Chris Fleegle. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Joe. Appreciate it.
Certainly. And let me just kind of set the stage here, because you're obviously you're a Mid-Penn Conference team, but some of our local viewers might not be familiar with the kind of season that you guys have had. So I'm going to try to cover 3 months in 60 seconds here. Just kind of talk about your season to this point. Kind of take a snapshot look. 21-2 overall, 13-1 in the Mid-Penn Commonwealth Division. You won the Commonwealth Division by 2 games, then captured the school's first Mid-Penn Conference tournament title, girls or boys, with blowout wins over previously unbeaten Mechanicsburg and Colonial Division champion Middletown. But your season started with a 32-point loss to a very good South Fayette team, followed by a week and a half later, a home loss to rival State College in your Mid-Penn Commonwealth Division opener. So at that point, you sat at 3-2, but have gone 19-0 since. And other than a tight 1-point win over Central Dauphin back on January 7th, have not won a game by less than 16 points, with an average margin of victory of 35 over that stretch. This places you at the doorstep of a rubber match with State College in this Friday night's District 4, District 6 play-in tournament. I think I have that wrong, but that's a championship game to move on and play the District 10 champion. Does that all sound accurate, Coach?
Just the end. The end got a little messed up. So, yeah, Friday's game with State College will be for the District Championship. Winner
District
moves
6.
on. Yeah, District 6 championship. Winner moves on and gets a home game against 7-2 out of Pittsburgh, and loser, unfortunately, season ends in middle of February.
Okay. Yeah, I was so confused today when I was putting that together. I just couldn't figure out how to articulate that. So thanks for clearing that up. But great season so far. I've had a chance to watch you guys play a handful of times and have really enjoyed watching you play. had a chance, I guess maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, to interview a few of your players, and that was a real joy to get to know them a little better. So anyway, I'm just going to ask you one question here, and then we'll let the guys jump in. I said that you were 3-2 early on. Kind of a tough loss, maybe. Of course, a non-league loss. You were on the other side of the state at North Allegheny. You lost by 30 to a really good South Fayette team. But then that opening Commonwealth loss to State College. Did you ever have any concern at 3-2 early in the season?
I mean, you always have concern. You always worry about your squad. Now, the kids that we have, the kids that are in our program right now, they're workers. It's a matter of getting more playing time, fine-tuning some things, getting better on the defensive end, and just we need to start clicking together. We had a big win before the State College game against Hollidaysburg, our crosstown rival. So
yes.
There's a lot that goes into that game for the kids. So coming into the Wednesday game following that, so a day of practice and get prepared for a very good athletic State College team. Things like that happen throughout the year. So,
well, I could tell you this: your players weren't concerned, because when I interviewed them, and they were very humble about it. But
sure,
I said, hey, you guys were sitting at 3-2, and you just lost to a big rival. I said, any concerns? They were like, no, not really. We knew we had to practice well. We had another game in front of us. We had to play well, and we'd get right back on track. And they were right. So, Eric Epler, you want to jump in here?
Well, I don't worry about the confidence Altoona too. Having talked to Melania and Brianna that during the season, they said the words "never panicked." They said the same thing, and the way just watching them on the court, yeah, you can tell they don't panic at all. This is a veteran group, even though you got some young faces too. Coach, obviously, Brandon being one of them, but it seems to me, Coach, too, that on the back end of the season, I don't worry so much about the beginning, because I always think the first 10 games are when you feel everything out and kind of get everything aligned up for like the postseason push, if you will. How important I got the sense that going into that, missing out via the power rating situation last year, 2 years ago, and missing out on that Mid-Penn, opportunity, that winning the Mid-Penn was a big step for you guys. And not so much in the big picture, because I think you're a big picture franchise at this point. But obviously that's a nice stepping stone for you guys to grab that title. How important was going out and having 2 great showings and winning the Mid-Penn?
It was important for us. It was something that we set goals at the beginning of the year of things that our team wanted to accomplish. We know going into conference play, like CD or CV or State College, whoever, not so much State College, but CD and CV, we can't split with them because we put ourselves in a bad spot, which we did the previous year. So like I said to the guys earlier, it's for us, there's such a big break of basketball games. So those 2 extra games against quality opponents really keeps everything consistently moving in the right direction. Gives us a playoff atmosphere. It gives us teams that we haven't seen or prepared for. So that was very big for us, and it was definitely one of our goals to compete and have a good showing in that tournament.
Bob Bonner?
Yeah, I just I wonder what how hard it is to ride 2 hours to every game.
Good question.
Like that's one of the things. Like, how do your girls? Do you have you perfected a routine after 6 years here of all this travel and getting the girls off the bus and having them ready to go? Because when you watch the game against Mechanicsburg, it was the lights were out before they came on. And is that something that you have done as a coach to try and get them ready and with those long drives?
You kind of get used to it. If we were playing over in the Mid-Penn or we're playing the teams out of the Whippeal, we're going to be traveling 2 hours either way. We do have a routine. The kids get out of school a little bit extra early. Let them go do their thing before we get on the bus. I have a really good group. I think most of them sleep probably on the way down. They get up, they have their time once we get in the gym, they do their thing. And yeah, the group that I have great senior leadership. I have great leadership in general, even some of my juniors and going down through the program. They know when there's an expectation with our program. When it's time to play, like we need to play to our potential. We need to get off the bus. We need to go out there and put our best foot forward. I'm blessed. I have a great group of girls. They do that consistently, game in and game out.
Jeff Kaufman?
First of all, congratulations, Chris. I mean, two titles in a row in the Commonwealth is admirable enough. How
That's 3 he has in a row.
three? That's right. The trip to Pittsburgh early in the season. I mean, obviously, South Fayette's a whole different team, but how well does that prepare you for the Mid-Penn, and how well has the Mid-Penn schedule prepared you for the upcoming tournament?
That's a great question. Mr. Riccio loves to challenge us early in the season, so we usually go to the North Allegheny tournament. And the past couple of years, we were always had our second game was with North Allegheny when Spencer was there coaching. So you're going to play a really good team. They're going to be well coached. And this year was no different. We just got South Fayette first. They provided a lot of length. They provided, I think, at that point in the season, maybe a little bit better team chemistry than we were ready for, or maybe even prepared for. So that's obviously, you don't want to lose right away off the season, but you have to look yourself in the mirror. Okay, what do we need to fix? What do we need to change? And I thought from that game and even the state college game, our practice habits improved significantly. I mean, my kids work hard, but sometimes just getting in there day in and day out, making sure we're doing the things that we need to do at the highest level we can do it at. That was big. So the 3-2 start, there was a lot of good that came out of that just by centering us back in the middle and putting together some practices that we needed to start to have to end up where we wanted to be at the end of the year. The Mid-Penn is great. I love the competition. There's a lot of really good coaches in our league. So every night, no matter what the talent level is, you need to be prepared to play. We saw this throughout the season. CD East had a big win. Cumberland Valley had some big wins. So if you're not prepared to play, you can lose on most nights just because of the quality coaching in the conference.
Coach, talk about how you think your team, and I'm not trying to give anybody any locker room fodder here, but to me, I cover sports. I cover all 3 seasons. I've kind of all different sports, girls, boys. I think 6A girls basketball is kind of like the extreme gauntlet of PIAA sports to have to win all those games to get, to the end. And Eric and I were talking about an hour ago, and, we both think that you guys kind of are going to match up with the better teams in the state, one game at a time. We're not trying to get ahead of yourselves, but talk about this team and how you think they may match up with some of the top teams in the state.
I think it comes down to, I got to give credit to my coaching staff, Casey Wilt and Mike Reed. As the girls said in your previous podcast, I've got a little bit more quiet during practices. I'll talk with Casey individually on our defense and Mike individually on our offense, what I want to see. They hear my voice plenty during the game. So number one, I think we defend very well most games, and that's going to leave us in a lot of basketball games and keep the score close. And offensively, this year I hope I don't jinx us, but we're a fairly good shooting basketball team. And sooner or later, we are going to make our shots. And the defense allows us to go through some cold streaks until the shot finally falls. And then also when you have Zay and Brianna Hudson that can get to the rim, they can finish around the rim. That's hard to deal with. But I think for us, we like to lay our hat on playing defense and getting out in transition. If we can get stops, we think we're going to be around at the end of the game.
Yeah, we do too. Eric?
Coach, I wanted to ask too. I mean, and again, I don't want to put the cart in front of the horse, if that's the right wording, but if you do win the District 6 title, you're looking at 7-2. You're looking at potentially Norwin or Upper St. Clair. I mean, to me, I would think a district champ, you would expect a kind of a picnic in the first round of states, and here you're going to probably match up against, arguably one of those teams is going to be, probably top 5 in the state. How do you sort of look ahead to something like that, or you just figure, what, we've been next opponent up the whole season and we'll deal with it when we get there?
Yeah, obviously when we're with the kids and so forth, we're planning on State College. State College is a very good basketball team. They present a lot of problems. if we were fortunate enough to get by State College, yeah, we've watched some film. Norwin's a good team. We're fortunate though. We travel a lot and do a lot of stuff together in the summer.
Right.
So in the fall, we went out to a shootout in North Allegheny where we got to play against Norwin. We played against Mount Lebo, Erie Cathedral Prep. So there's a lot of those teams that we either seen play or actually already played against before the season actually started. So it gives us an idea, and it's a great thing that we do because it gives us an idea of what we need to work on. Can we compete with those type of teams? And so, yeah, it's not fun. You look at some of our local teams when they win the districts, they're going to have a 30-point victory, pretty much guaranteed. And then for us, the last couple of years, we're getting Chartiers Valley, Mount Lebanon, just some really good teams coming in, quality teams coming out of Pittsburgh. So we don't get a night off. It's right into that, and depends on how the rest of the bracket falls.
Yep. Bob Bonner?
Yeah, I was just it's a gauntlet, and I wonder if facing some of those teams, you're going to have to beat them anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just the girls are ready to take all comers in that respect, I think, and so I think you guys will be all right. You know what I mean? I think you're well rounded. You have some inside presence. Maybe teams that have a couple of their 6'2" or 6'3" girls might give you trouble if they have a couple of them, but that's the only thing I saw.
I think that's a mismatch for the teams with the 2-6-3 players. I seriously do. It's hard to keep up with this Altoona team. I mean, they're almost all guards.
Yeah.
Really. Let's face it. Even Hudson, I think she's listed as a forward.
Yeah, she's
5'10". Yeah, she's a guard too. I think they're all guards. And Eric, you know as well as I do, you've seen the teams that have a lot of success in girls, especially 6A, a lot of guards, right?
Yeah, you need dynamic guard play. Every coach will tell you that in girls basketball, you need dynamic guards to be truly successful. I've written that statement a bunch of times. Brianna plays like a guard. She really does at 5'10". I mean, she moves like a guard. But yeah, I would love to see her get to 6'1" though. I'm sure Coach would too. She's young though, Coach. Allow her to grow.
She's still growing. That's
exactly.
It's not out of the question yet. She's still growing. Another good thing that I'll give my kids credit for, they like to compete. They enjoy the games that they know that they're going to play someone that it's challenging. They get up for that. We took them over the summer to the Best of Maryland tournament just to see. I felt that we had a good squad. I felt like we could compete with some teams. So Coach G actually got me connected with the gentleman down there, and we got the invite. It was one of the best experiences. Went down there 3-2. We played some really good basketball, competed against some really good teams. And like you said, the height issue, we ran into that down there. They had some kids 6'2", 6'3". And it was a good chance for Brianna to immediately step in to the varsity program against quality teams, not have to go through summer league, get into the season. And I think that's part of the reason she's got off to such a fast start for us, is we played so many quality games in the off season that stepping into the regular season, she was able to understand the jump from the junior high basketball up to the varsity basketball level.
Right.
Coach, who is the, we talk about in the boys hoops too, I remember doing a story and the guy's team had a lot of talent, but he's like, you know what? There's always an alpha. There's always an alpha. You could have 5 great players, but there's always an alpha. It seems to me like you have 5 alphas on this team. So I wanted to ask you, who is the alpha in your mind?
Be careful.
Yeah, so you know what? I'm going to answer with how you said everyone is. It depends on different nights. I mean, you have Lainey. Lainey is she's my firecracker. She'll get the thing going. You have Milena. She's that quiet, but her game shows everything it needs to show for everybody. You have Zay. She's a wonder to be around. She's constantly chattering. She's talking. She's building the team up. And then you have and Brianna. Brianna's quiet, but Brianna is kind of like Milena a little bit. She lets her game do the talking for her. But I would say the most vocal on the team, depending on the day, Zay is definitely the most vocal. With Lainey, you can get under Lainey's skin. She'll be vocal as well.
Right. Yeah, I think I think Winmore plays with a lot of energy, a lot of emotion. She plays with joy. You know what I mean? She's got a smile on her face. And I was telling Eric just an hour ago when we talked, I said, that's a player that every coach would like to have on their team. You know, Zaylin Winmore. So how about one more question? Jeff, you got a good one to take us out with?
Your team, has great senior leadership, and I know you're going to miss them next year. But how well has that leadership been through the summer and into the fall in the off season part of your?
Yeah, I couldn't ask for a better group of seniors. I mean, most people see Lainey and Milena. I have another one, Lydia, that she got some key minutes for us that championship game when we got in foul trouble. But having players like Lainey and Milena, it's constant. It's the time the season ends, they're either in the gym themselves or they're asking me to open the gym up. They played both as freshmen. Lainey started, Milena started to start towards the end. They definitely went through their trial and tribulations doing that. And the biggest thing I think they did for the program is our culture. Our culture is outstanding right now at Altoona.
Mm-hmm.
They all get along. They like to be around each other. And I think that starts with your leadership. So as much as like we as coaches sometimes get a lot of credit, I give the credit to them. I mean, they helped our team grow. I've grown as a coach with them. It's a good situation to be in. So you always say leave it better than you found it. And those seniors can definitely say a guaranteed yes to that. They definitely changed the program around all on the court, but also the culture of the program is significantly better because of them.
Yeah, it's not hard to tell that you have great culture up there, So, well, Coach Chris Fleegle, we really appreciate it. Altoona Coach Chris Fleegle, best wishes, rubber match. You guys, you and State College are 1-1 this year, and you're playing at Bald Eagle area, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Friday night, 6 o'clock. And I can say this for all of us. We're all Mid-Penn guys down here, Harrisburg area. We're glad to have you in the Mid-Penn. It's such an addition to girls basketball in an already rich girls basketball area. And so we're just glad that we have a chance to play. These teams have a chance to play it twice a year. And we don't do all that well, by the way, not these last few years, but that doesn't matter. We want the competition, and we wish you well in the upcoming weeks, Coach.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me. Well, hopefully we'll run into you later in the year.
Yep, sounds good.
Good luck.
See you guys. Bye.
Take care. All right, so that was Coach Chris Fleegle. Great interview, great questions, guys. Got a chance to learn a little bit more about him and his program. And a lot of the stuff we talked about, I interviewed three of his players just a few weeks ago, and they said the same thing. He was kind of reiterating, about the culture, and they said that like he doesn't run the practices. That you don't hear that too often.
No.
And he has two assistants, and it's like football. They have an offensive assistant coach and coordinators, and they run the practices. And I thought, wow, that's different. That's really cool. And believe me, his biggest fans are his players. They love him. So let's just jump into this. Let's talk a little bit. We're not going to be overly structured here. Let's talk a little bit about the regular season, what we saw from the different divisions and maybe some of the players. And let's start with the Colonial. And I know, Bob, it's kind of close to your heart. But I know that Jeff knows the Colonial well, and I know Eric does. Eric knows everything well. He does it for a living. So Northern York and Middletown, they tied, and they even split, right? They split during the regular season, and it went down to power rankings. And my opinion is Middletown made a nice show. Of course, they made a nice showing in the in the Mid-Penn tournament. They stuck around with they beat a pretty good Trinity team, of course, in the opening round. I was there and I watched it. They kind of out-toughed them. They were more physical, I thought. Eric, did you see that game at all?
I didn't. I know I was covering the other one. I was covering Altoona and Mechanicsburg.
Right. That's how Middletown beat Trinity, though. That first round, they just kind of out-toughed them, out-physicaled them. But talk a little bit about. You watched a lot of those teams this year, Bob. What did you see out of the Colonial Division?
Honestly, Northern and Middletown, obviously the top two teams. On Middletown, it's hard. It's hard to keep track of Kozer and Cleveland.
They're both very good.
They're both outstanding. They make that team run. and it's hard to game plan to stop them, and you have to stop their inside game also, and they're very physical. But Northern was probably the most well-rounded team in the division, with their front five, all athletes, a couple Division I players, but for different sports. That basketball is their second sport. But like the rest of the division was maybe like a step behind.
Right.
Shippensburg has a decent group of young girls. They're going to be tougher next year because they pretty much have everybody back. So they're going to be somebody to contend with. The Navarro girl, she's going to be somebody that people are going to have to game plan for next year. Definitely. And Middletown has everybody back. So they're going to be by far the favorite in the clubhouse, so to speak, for next
and
year.
We didn't mention Destiny Gasser. She's the big, right?
Yeah,
she's number 33.
She is. Yeah,
she gave Trinity fits, man. She's a big body, but she also can play. She's not just a big body.
You can't allow her to have the ball anywhere in the paint.
Correct. That's correct. Yeah.
You cannot.
Okay, so let's move on to the Capital Division. I don't want to rush through this, but I want to get to some other things too. And we're not really totally on the clock, but I don't want to drag this out too much. So how about the Capital Division? Once again, Trinity wins it. Eric, what did you think of that Trinity team? I'm sure you saw it a few times.
Yeah, Trinity's a team too. You almost feel like if they had, one more like big that they could be. And again, I'm not saying they can't make a run in the state playoffs. In 3A, it's kind of where you match up with the Hammers, and it's usually for Trinity, it's usually quarterfinal or semifinal round. But talented team for sure. But obviously the return of Emma Kostelak-Lauer it has been huge for them. She missed all of last year with the
She's
ACL.
Good, really good.
And even I saw Trinity early, and it didn't seem like she was sort of trusting herself. She had sort of an up and down game, like 8 points, played good defense. Listen, she's always a sound basketball player. She always finds herself in the right places. She's a really good defender. She's just a solid all around basketball player. But it didn't look like she was trusting herself to kind of be that and go to score.
She looked like Magic Johnson against Middletown, believe me.
Yeah. And then like somewhere in the middle of the season, kind of it switched. And she went into sort of attack mode. And obviously she's a talented shooter too, so she can beat you from three. She's the kind of, I often talk about YMCA players and shoot from anywhere, run up and down the court, just kind of like reckless, in control, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. It makes a lot of sense.
That's what she is. And that's a player that everybody wants to have.
Yep. I agree.
And the more confident she gets, forget it, the better. Yeah. I mean, it's just going to go well for you.
Right.
Another key for them, besides Ashley Burkheimer, has been a great scorer for them, the leading scorer for them, led the mid-pen in 3-point goals, a driveway shooter. She can score. But Bella Dupes, the point guard, I think has been the key for them. And not so much just distributing and running the offense, particularly on defense. She's been really good causing turnovers, getting Trinity in transition, and getting you, when you're up 5 points and all of a sudden you look at the scoreboard a minute 11, you're up 11. That's what Bella Dupes does. She kind of makes extra possessions for you and gets Trinity going. And I didn't think, to be honest with you, I didn't think Trinity would be a team that could score, that could get into the 60s. They've been in the 60s a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I think a lot of that is attributed to the backcourt, and especially what Bella Dupes has done for them. And there's a couple other key players too. But, yeah, Trinity just is so well coached. Chris Fleegle at this game for, I think this is her 19th year, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, she banged over the 300-win threshold earlier in the year. We were at that game. It's just an impressive program, and they just keep kind of recycling and reloading and going.
Right.
So, I think they're probably the 3A winners, District 3A winners this year as well. and they got a chance to make a little run.
I agree. Jeff Kaufman, I'm going to bring you in because I want to ask you about Molly Kimmel. What do you know about Molly Kimmel from Boiling Spring?
Yeah.
She's one of the best players, and
An all-around player. I mean, she
admittedly, we folks over this way, over in the Harrisburg East Shore area, we don't get a chance to see some of those players a lot. But I know she's one of the best players in the entire conference, right? If not further than that, beyond that.
And she's been for 4 years. I mean, she's been one of the better players in that for Boiling Springs for 4 years. Now you have a 6'1" Mandel.
Yes,
Jillian Mandel.
She's tough.
She's gonna be another one.
Yeah.
Losing Kimmel's going to be big because I don't think they have the shooters that they've had in the past. I mean, she's their number one shooter. But you know, they're like Trinity. They keep reloading. I really thought Trinity was going to be down a little bit this year, but she finds the pieces and the kids step up. And same for Bob with Northern. I really thought they'd take a step back, but the kids that have filled in have done very well for them.
I watched Trinity up against they scrimmage Central Dauphin every year, and I watched the scrimmage, and they held up really well against Central Dauphin. And you know, Central Dauphin's bigger, they're more physical, they just have a lot of kind of advantages over Trinity. And you know, I think if they were keeping score, CD would have beaten them, both the little mini games that they played. But Trinity had to leave there thinking, man, we can play with some teams, you know. That was right before the season started. So, and then Susquehanna Township, they're the last one I want to kind of touch on. They have a new coach, Deron Dickerson, and they went they're 15-7 overall, plus the game that I think the game they won in the opening round of districts if they played yet. But 10-4, they finished third in the Capital Division. And who wants to talk about all those young guards they have over there? Eric,
J.C. Martin.
Yeah, I mean, you know, J.C. Martin and Devin Archer obviously came in with some reputations, obviously, on the AAU circuit.
Yeah.
Both have been really good. Martin in particular, just because of her scoring prowess. I mean, she could, you know, she's a slasher more than a shooter, but she can hit threes. Archer's been really good playing the role of kind of like facilitator. A lot of assists, a lot of steals, just kind of more down and dirty, you know, and just kind of, I mean, she really sort of found her role and just took it to another level really, really quick in the process in her first year. I mean, you know, two freshmen, you know, on the same team making that kind of impact is rare. Yeah. We obviously are very lucky. I did a piece a few weeks ago about the 10 impact freshman players. I mean, there's years I couldn't even get you to 10.
Right.
Oh, but Bob had mentioned Navarro down at Shippensburg. Mandel is another one at Northern. You know, and these two, you know, Martin and Archer at Susquehanna Township.
Yeah.
And it's a long list of impact players, you know. So
Big Spring has one too. Yeah.
I just think too for Susquehanna Township, it's just patience. I mean, obviously they want to run. Aaliyah Barnes, their forward, has been really good as well. But sometimes they get themselves too fast. And in the girls' game, when you get yourself too fast, it just everything kind of gets blown up. The turnovers mount, the scoring droughts last 3-4 minutes. That just happens, you know. And I think the older or the more mature this team gets, they'll find their wins keep going up and up and up, because they're good enough to create their own shots. There's no doubt about that. But you know, you've got to do certain things to manipulate the defenses too, and you can't be tendencies. If you're always going to your right, eventually that's going to slow you down against good teams. Right. So I think just learning that, you know, as they go along, they're talented. I mean, Township's talented. I mean, I just think at some point when I watch them, I'm always kind of like, if they just pump the brakes on occasion and set things up, they're going to get high percentage shots and maybe get a few more wins.
Right.
But, you know, when you're coaching girls basketball, I talked to Middletown coach LaSlonda Dixon about the same thing. It's hard to slow that team down. Sure. Because Kosher can run, Cleland can run, Journey Stover, their guard, who just creates havoc on the defense. Jalea Stover, obviously, as well. They started Riley Cavrich when Journey Stover was unavailable, not available for the Mid-Penn Championship game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all these players together, you know, they all can get up and down the court, but that often backfires on you a little bit, and I think it costs them some wins during the regular season.
Right.
I think they and Middletown and Susquehanna Towns are definitely the most athletic teams.
Yeah, they are.
Right.
They're extremely talented. I mean, it just, but like, you know, sooner or later, that sort of mentality, like that's our style. We just go. You know, you may have to adjust out of that against a really good pressure team, and sooner or later you run into that.
I think that Susquehanna Township will probably have their hands full with Wyo missing.
They will.
Friday night.
Yeah.
And Boiling Springs will have their hands full on Friday night with DeLone too.
Yeah, they played DeLone Catholic. So
absolutely. Okay, so
Let's have some big girls.
and they got a great coach too.
Year in and year out is just solid.
Yeah. So the Keystone, let's just touch on like the top three, and that's with respect to this would be its own show if we were going to go top to bottom of every division. But of course, Mechanicsburg, they finished 14-0. They won the division by 4 games. You don't see that too often, to win a 14-game division by 4 games. Lower Dauphin, I thought played well. They showed up. They played well. They won a game so far in the who'd they beat last night? Yeah, they beat. I just had it here. Anyway, Lower Dauphin did win last night, so they
Twin Valley.
Okay, yeah. But Clay McAllister with his Wildcats, really good coach. He's got some senior players, and then Cedar Cliff. I thought Scott Wyatt got a lot out of that team. I mean, you guys are both nodding. Jeff, what do you think of what he got out of that? He never has really much size. I shouldn't say never because he has had size, but a lot of times he gets like cookie cutter players. You know, a lot of guards.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is not a big size team. It's a team that plays well together.
Right.
But again, several of those kids played last year as freshmen or as sophomores, and you know they're growing together. You know, and that's how his team that went to the state finals was. I mean, those kids grew up together. They played well together when they were young, and they were role players that you know did their roles. I like Mechanicsburg because I think there's 7 or 8 pieces there, but you don't have a quote all-star or all-state player, but they're all good players in their own right.
Yeah, well, they're going to probably have their hands full tomorrow night. I mean, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. They have to play. They're up in 6A this year for the first time, and the boys.
Yeah.
So
it is a different beast.
It is. It really is. I mean, boy, I say this with respect to 5A, and I mean that. The gap between 5A and 6A, at least in this area, is pretty. I mean, last year Northern York was really good. I think they came into the Central Dauphin game with like one or 2 losses. CD beat them by like 27 or 20, and they did the same thing to Susquehanna Township, man. And you know, you walk away thinking, man, those teams they couldn't be really that good. Well, yeah, they were, but you know, they ran into Central Dauphin. But Clay McAllister knows how to coach, and he knows Randy Gambalungi. He knows what Randy's schemes are and how Randy game plans. And so you know, we're gonna see tomorrow night how that all goes down. That's at Mechanicsburg.
I think if Mechanicsburg wants to win that, they really need to hit some outside shots.
Absolutely.
To spread out.
I think at times too, Mechanicsburg, obviously, they're devoid of any size. I mean, Lauren Lebo, I think, is listed at 5'10", and she's their tallest player. Talented enough. No, but I mean, I'm just saying listed there. So when you run into somebody like Central Dauphin, obviously with Michaela, Joe, 6'2". Obviously, Kayana is 6 foot.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Sembrot's probably 5'10", a solid 5'9", and physical. And there's just it's a tall task, even for a team that's as good defensively as Mechanicsburg. But Jeff is actually right. There is a I think at times Mechanicsburg is a little bit gun shy, a little bit to pull the trigger. And we know, like, Aisha Pratt can hit threes. We know Bridget Edwards can hit threes. We know Alana Sweet, Macy Yanoski. All of those girls can hit 3-point shots. And I feel like sometimes it's almost the opposite. When I talked about Hannah and Middletown, I would almost like to see Mechanicsburg not be as technical,
Right.
and sort of just because their guards are very talented.
Yeah.
I thought last year, total agreement, because I thought last year they were firing away.
Yes. And I
And
just think, against these teams that have better size, I think it just becomes harder to work for that perfect shot.
I'm friends with Randy Gambelungi from Central Dauphin, and I just know this. He has a great deal of respect for Clay McAllister. He knows Clay's a great coach, and he knows he's going to have a game on his hands tomorrow night. You can throw out CD's the 6A stalwart and Mechanicsburg small and their first year in 6A. Trust me, Central Dauphin's not looking at the game that way. They're looking at the game like, man, this is a really good team that only has one loss, and they can show up and shoot lights out and play a disciplined brand of ball and play Clay McAllister ball. And, we're going to have to show up and really execute to beat that, So
absolutely.
Anyway,
I was really surprised by the Mechanicsburg Altoona score. I just did not.
Well, you know what, Jeff? What happened there is Altoona struck so fiercely in the first 8 minutes,
so fast.
It was almost like do I bring them in and just change everything we thought about our process and what we do? I mean, they were down 14-0, 3.5 minutes into the game.
Yeah, 2 minutes in.
Yeah. They were up 15-2 on Central Dauphin the first game. Altoona.
It just is like it just happened so quickly.
Yeah.
And it was just like now not only do you have to exert all that energy to get within striking distance at halftime, by the third, fourth quarter, do you have anything left to get over that hump?
Right.
And once they got to halftime in the first, it might have been a 7-0 run for Altoona coming out of the gate too in the second half. And they're up, and you're up 20-some.
Oh
right.
my.
It's just over. Yeah.
That's a mess. Okay, so let's jump into the Commonwealth. Altoona wins by two games over State College.
Yeah.
Central Dauphin, first season in 6 years that they finished outside of the top two. And Eric, you follow it enough. You're familiar with that.
Yep.
It wasn't supposed to be a great team or season for Central Dauphin. And again, I say that with respect. I think it was they lost a lot of talent from last year.
Yeah.
I think they were supposed to compete well and win some games, and they did that. They kind of got out of the gate. They were 9-0 out of the gate, and they won some big games, Lebanon and Lancaster Catholic. And then they kind of sputtered a little bit. But I think that Coach Gambelungi, Coach G, his chin's up. He's got the players ready to compete, and they know that they lost some games to some really good teams.
Yeah.
Altoona and State College. They both swept them.
Yep.
But let's talk about State College, man. What about their guard play? You guys, anybody see State College? I know you did, Eric. They're another team. They're all guards.
Yeah, they're very sound. They're sort of like Altoona without Altoona's sort of like sniper mentality. I mean, Milana Ayer is can shoot from the parking lot, and she's got full green light. I mean, State College is a little bit more disciplined, maybe closer to the vest. But obviously, they don't hurt themselves a lot. They don't hurt themselves in turnovers. They play solid defense, and they kind of let the game come to them a little bit, which has been successful for them. And they just sort of, tighten it around you a little bit. The next thing you know, you're down 12 and you're done.
You want to hear an amazing figure, guys?
Yes.
State College, all 5 starters, and they're all guards. I would call them all guards. Sienna and Cherie Wilson, Jess Hall Baker, Desiree Mobley, McKenna Whitehurst, all average double digits.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that means they're scoring 50 points.
Balanced.
Right.
And they're all it's all like 10.4.
You're right.
No one's scoring 19 and then the rest are 10. You know what I mean?
You are correct.
They're all in that same boat. They don't care who gets the points. They go out, they execute the game plan, and they win a lot of ball games.
And then I just wanted to mention the 2 really good freshmen in this division are we talked about Brianna Hudson, but then Kiana Taylor. Yes. And I know you've been there for a couple of her better games, Eric.
Yep.
She's the real deal. Taylor for Central Dauphin, Hudson and if those 2 stick around for 4 years, it's going to be, they're going to have talent. They should have talent around them too, but it's just fun to watch 14-year-olds or however old they are play basketball at a really high level. It's 6A, you know.
It's just too, like, I mean, I think a lot of people when they talk like AAU, I mean, obviously your freshmen come in a little bit more mature basketball wise now than they ever did before. But people, I think, talk about AAU about, oh, it's now time to look toward a college scholarship. I think it benefits them mostly when they're in that 7th, 8th grade, you know, and walking into a system now where they're in with the coach that they're going to be with for the next 4 years in high school, and sort of they come in just a little bit step ahead, and They come in with a little bit of confidence too. That's what always strikes me. Like when I was a freshman, I was scared to ask anybody in the hallways where my class was,
right?
You know, and these girls are going out in front of 400 or 500 fans,
absolutely,
and they're balling out against very good competition.
Yeah,
6A programs.
Yeah,
that's what surprises me the most. That how, you know, not cocky, how confident they are that they belong on the court.
And neither of their coaches are kind of have the reins tightened on them. I know that for a fact.
No, I mean, I think that's the right progression though, right? Like if you rein them in too much, you maybe deter them a little bit and maybe steal a little bit of that confidence away. I think, you know, especially during the regular season. I mean, let's face it. You know, if you go 500 as a Commonwealth Division team, you're in the playoffs.
Right.
Yes.
So why not use the first 10, 12 games to kind of see what your rookie can do?
Yeah.
And let her make mistakes.
Absolutely.
You know,
let them make mistakes.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, you know, the second half of the season, that's when you rein things in, tighten, and push toward the playoffs. And I mean, that's the beauty of the regular season. It really is 2 halves.
I think I'm not a huge fan of, I mean, I won't say I don't like it at all, AAU ball, but a lot of these kids as freshmen are coming in already having 40, 50, 60 games behind them in the summertime. I think I was talking to somebody the other day. They said, we were talking about wrestling, and they said, does it seem like there's more 150 match winners now? And I said, well, kids are wrestling 50, 60 matches a year. Yeah. If you wrestle 4 years, I mean, 150 is barely going over 500.
Yeah.
You know, 100,000 points in basketball. If your team goes into the playoffs every year, you're playing 28, 29, 30 games.
Yeah, and in those 30 games, you're going to get 5 to 6 that are against real quality opponents, probably better than you are. You know, because let's face it, everybody thinks, you know, there's this false narrative out there, like you're going to a tournament in New Jersey, an AAU tournament, and you're going to play top tier competition, you know, a nationally ranked team. That's not always the case. You know what I mean? No. I have a niece who plays field hockey who is wonderful, and you know, their teams are winning 12-0. Well, that's not helping you,
right?
You know, so but you do get those games where you're playing better competition, and it just allows you to make the transition into high school even that much easier. That's great for them, and it's fun for us because we get to watch them as 14 and 15-year-olds thinking, geez.
Right.
You know, so you and I are pretty close, and I'm a little bit older, Eric, but you don't remember a whole lot of freshmen playing.
No, you're right.
30, 50 years ago.
That's what I said. I wrote 10 freshmen. I probably could have wrote 15 or 20 this year just in the mid-pen.
Yeah.
I could have never wrote that piece 5 years ago. So even 10 years ago, couldn't do it.
Maybe somebody can answer this question, but are coaches more quick to put a freshman out there over a senior?
Don't say that.
I'm just asking because I know many coaches who have said that.
Many do. But you know, I watch a lot of games, and I know a lot of the freshman girls in this class, and you know, a lot of them are getting opportunities. But some coaches don't. Some coaches are, hey, first half of the year we'll throw the older girls out there and see how they do, and then it's almost too late to try and throw a freshman in 3/4 of the way through the season and expect them to be ready. Like, they have to make those mistakes early, like Eric was saying, and a lot of coaches are doing that. Like, you see a lot of the best freshmen, like the coaches, you know, some of them they're not on 20-2 teams, you know, like Kiana is, but like she's on a top-notch team. But
I think the coaches that I know best I think they kind of whatever's going to give them the best chance to win.
You would think, yeah.
I like Bill Wolf last year. That what was there? Sophia Warner, the little freshman last year. He needed her. He put her in there like early in the season, and she grew up that quickly. I don't know why I'm thinking about her, but she was small in stature, physically small, but she was a freshman, and he had some older players, but he trusted her. He put her in there, and he trusted her. So I think it depends on the coach there, but. Yes. Whoever's going to give you the best chance to win a basketball game, I think you're probably best using it. And then the last thing I wanted to mention here, guys, and then we'll move on. Let's move on to like the district tournament. How about this? Altoona's returning 4 of their top 6. Okay. We know that it's Milena Iyer and Lainey Wilt are the 2 they're losing. State College is returning 4 of their top 6. Central Dauphin is returning the whole roster except for 1 player.
Right.
Okay. And that is a starter. That's Dickerson, Maya Dickerson. But man, these teams aren't going to go away anytime. Well, it's bad news for the rest of the Commonwealth Division. For sure.
I look at a team like, Carlisle lost so much this year to injuries.
Yeah.
But they have their entire team coming back next year again.
Yeah.
And most of them are only sophomores and freshmen.
Right. Yeah, so expect them to be in the mix a little bit more.
But it's tough, in the Commonwealth you got to not come up with an upset here or there.
It's a gauntlet.
Yeah, it's a total gauntlet. Not like it was a few years ago, though. I don't know if you guys remember. I know you remember, Eric, and you do too, Jeff. There were 6 or 7 of the 8 teams were on a given night. We're going to beat the top teams, teams in the. Yep. So let's go to 6A in districts, and here's an interesting kind of storyline or subplot. There's a very good chance with respect to, I guess the only remaining chance that Mid-Penn has now is Central Dauphin or Mechanicsburg.
Or Mechanicsburg, yeah.
Yeah. There has not been a non-Mid-Penn team win the District 3 Big School Championship in 11 seasons.
Yeah.
And that's Cumberland Valley, mostly Cumberland Valley and Central Dauphin, and then Cedar Cliff. Was it 1 or 2 years? Cedar Cliff. They won it 2 years.
Won it 1 year.
1 year. Okay.
Yeah.
So the rest was all Central Dauphin. But the point is, that's in danger, isn't it?
It's in serious danger.
Yeah, that's in serious danger.
Yeah.
And especially with the winner having to go, possibly against Red Line or Central York.
Yeah.
In the next round.
Or Lebanon.
All in the States. So it's, at least this point. Guaranteed a spot in the state, but
I don't know if there's a clear favorite. I mean, I think you've seen them all, Eric. Lebanon's pretty darn good.
Yeah,
I've seen most of them. I have not seen Manheim Township, but I think Lebanon will take care. Will beat them.
As do I.
But I'll tell you what, the Dallas, if it happens on the semifinals, Dallastown versus Lebanon.
Woo.
That's the most interesting matchup that I can see.
Yeah.
And obviously, Kayla Correa is dynamic, but boy, Lily Harrison have a day on Monday in that first round game with Cumberland Valley. Gave the Eagles all kind of fits, and Lebanon's a lot like Altoona. They are so confident. A deficit doesn't matter to them. 10 points down, whatever, doesn't matter. They are very, very solid, very well coached. And
they don't give up. Central Dauphin beat them earlier in the season, much earlier in the season, but Central Dauphin had a pretty darn big lead. And the players that weren't Correa or what's her name, the 6'3", the big you just mentioned. The other 2 or 3 guards are the ones that kind of brought him back, got him back into the game.
Oh, yeah, Olive Brandt can shoot from the parking lot.
Right.
And their other guard, I can't, their name escapes me, but they got 2 or 3 that can shoot from anywhere. And
That's right.
And Harrison's younger sister came in. Nina, I believe her name is. Nina Harrison came in, had 5 points, and provided. I mean, they don't go deep. They're 6 deep. That's it. But man, they are good, and they run up and down. They're talented. But I thought that Mans did a really good job on Correa. I mean, you want to, if you're going to put a defender for CV on Correa, it's going to be Mans.
Mans had a great season.
I thought she
Really
did a
good
really
season.
good job. Correa had, I think, 5 points with about 6 minutes to go in the half.
Wow.
She hit a late 3, and then she wound up with 17.
Right.
But 2 or 3 of those buckets were in the fourth quarter, with the game was already, pretty much decided.
Yeah.
But Dallastown to me is that if Lebanon gets beat, it's going to be by Dallastown, I think. Praise Matthews has been really good. They're forward all year long, and this Alana Dow, good guard. Alana Dow is one of just. I've seen a lot of basketball this year, and it's easy to notice competitors, like players that you just know that's all they're thinking about is how am I going to beat you. Yep. And Alana Dow is one of those players. I saw her for 3 quarters at the Hoops for Harmony Fest down at York mid-season, and man, she's impressive.
Yeah, she really is.
And if they need her to score, she scores some points, but she's such a good defender and just such a good all-around player. She's a difference maker, and I think Dallastown can beat Lebanon.
So do I.
Final.
Yeah. And I like Coach Jay Rexroth too. I mean, he's had some good teams.
He's a hell of a coach.
He's had like a lot of the mid-pen teams have given him fits. Okay, yes. I don't know how else to put it. And I don't think that anybody deserves the win just because they deserve it. But I wouldn't be too upset if Dallastown was able to win a title for Jay Rexroth.
Yeah, I mean that's just 2 great teams. I mean that's going to be a barn burner.
Yeah.
So let's move to 5A. I know that you're a little bit on the clock here. I promised you we'd get out by 8. So let's keep moving here. We have Northern York left. They beat Milton Hershey. They're going to play Manheim Central. Northern York is the 3 seed. Manheim Central the 6 seed, and then Middletown's going to host Conrad Weiser. And then we also have Lower Dolphin, who beat Twin Valley, who's going to be playing at York Suburban's tough. Tell us a little bit about this Northern York team, Bob. You're familiar with them.
Yeah, they're athletic. They can defend. They can play against big girls if they have to, but like they have some guards that are great defenders. And they have a bunch of girls that can shoot. It's just a matter of, hey, who's going to be on what night? And that's, and they're going to need that, in the coming games. But all around that, they have a solid team. Their bench is good. So they can make a run. I think it's, if they could win and have another shot at Middletown, I think they learned a lot the first 2 times.
Yeah, we talked about the rubber match with State College and Altoona this Friday. That would be a heck of a rubber match there, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I know you said Suburban lost their best player, their point guard, halfway through the season. So they have, I think Lower Dolphin's gonna give them a game, in that upper half, but West York, they're probably your, they're the ones that I think could do the most damage, to be honest with you, just having watched them a bunch of times this year.
Okay. Anybody else want to touch on 5A before we move on to 4A?
I think we will get the rubber match. I think we will get the rubber match in the semifinals in 5A. I think Northern and Middletown are going to match up.
Man,
I know.
That's a juicy one there.
It's fantastic considering they split. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I know. Jayla Koza from Middletown was not at her best during the Mid-Penn Championship. She was a little bit under the weather.
Yeah,
I don't think it would have changed the outcome against that Altoona team. But anyway, so hopefully now with a full week, to get better, she'll be ready. I think they'll take care of Weiser.
Yeah.
And then I think they'll hook up with Northern. I mean, Manheim Central's been pretty good. I know. Now I'm missing her. Gianna Walters. That's it. Just came to me. Heck of a shooter from the outside. She's been their main weapon, like 13 points a game. But she's hitting a couple threes every game too. So she's one to watch for Manheim Central. But I mean, after that, West York, you mentioned, Bob.
Yeah.
Tricky, very
Yes.
tricky.
Yes.
They could find their way to Hershey.
Yeah.
And we'll get one of our mid-Penn teams in. But yeah, I think we will get either Northern or Middletown is showing up for that final.
I hope so.
This 4A field, the teams that are left, my gosh, are these some heavy hitters? Anybody take a look at who's left? Lancaster Catholic, the lone Catholic, Northern Lebanon, who's again after a number of years having a really good season, Wyomissing, and Amaya Stewart. And then we talked earlier about Susquehanna.
They beat Middletown.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of really good. I think kind of all bets are off there. I mean,
Yes.
It's hard. Don't you think? I mean, guys, could that be like? I don't want to say anybody.
I think anyone of them could.
I think it is just about anybody, right? Man.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Doesn't Hannah seems to be the X factor, don't they?
Yeah.
They kind of seem.
If they can get by Maya Stewart and Wyomissing, and that's a big if.
Whew, she's good.
Wyomissing is a strong squad.
Yeah.
But Susquehanna has that team. We talked earlier about them being streaky and being, racking up points quickly. And if they stay within themselves and don't get into foul trouble, and who knows, they match up really, really well against Northern Lebanon, who's probably going to advance in the other side. Mm-hmm. And that's your semifinal. So, I mean, I don't know. This could be, Hannah could mess this whole thing up.
That's as strong a 4A field as you're going to find with
Right.
eight teams remaining.
And Lancaster Catholic, of course, is Lancaster Catholic.
Always tough.
It's I fully expect them to be in Hershey again.
Okay, only because there aren't any mid-Penn teams remaining in 2A or 1A, or even in the field. We're just going to finish with 3A here, and then cut everybody loose because I appreciate your time. You're all volunteers. You guys are doing a great job. I'm so glad I brought you on. But the team remaining, we mentioned earlier, is Trinity. I kind of look for them to be able to bring home some more hardware. You guys, yeah. Jeff, talk about. Do you know anything about this Trinity team? This particular Trinity team. It seems like Christy Britton. Her teams have kind of different personalities every year, and she kind of sets things up for those teams. Like she doesn't have a set way of running things. I don't think. She looks at the personnel she has, and this is a different type of team. She's got 3 guards. I would say Berkheimer's probably a guard too, a little bit bigger size, but she has Berkheimer, Dupes, and Kostelak Lauer. What do you think, Jeff, as far as this Trinity team? Let's just say that we think they're probably going to be able to bring home this district title. Do you think they're going to be able to make any noise, any waves in states?
Well, I think 3A depends. I haven't looked at the state brackets to see where they're going to go, but this Trinity team seems like more of a 3-point shooting team this year than other years.
They got 3 shooters.
Get to the bucket. Their key factors are the Stair, KK, and Abby Stair, because
we didn't mention them. Twins, right?
Yeah.
Because and any night they pop up with 10 points, 5 rebounds, and if they both do it, it makes them even more difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that go ahead, Eric. I see you're ready.
I'm glad that Jeff mentioned the Stairs because KK and Abby and they're terrific defenders too.
Right. Yeah, I'm glad you did too, Jeff.
That's sort of the thing they do the best. And again, they're not size wise. They're up probably both 5'7", maybe 5'8", but they play a lot bigger than that. And Trinity's a team too. I mean, you get Pequay Valley, you get Janae Patterson, unbelievable score, unbelievable difficult to take, but that's what it is. But I think Trinity has enough experience now and enough sort of seasoning to kind of overcome Patterson, even though she's one of the best scorers in LL. So I think they will win 3A. I don't know if we could say if that's a certainty. If we're calling that, hey, Trinity's probably the best bet to win a district title out of the Mid-Penn. I don't know if we could say that for any other classes. To be honest with you,
I agree. That's
that tough, and York County is producing a lot of good, Red Line and Dallas down up top.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got York Suburban, who's a favorite.
Yep.
And so, along down the line, West York that Bob mentioned. So, there's a lot. There's a lot in York and a lot in Lancaster. It's tough to beat.
So
it'll be fun. It'll be fun to see how it shakes out.
Eric, before we let everybody go, what are you working on at PennLive Patriot News? You do girls basketball, you do football. Do you have any upcoming all-star teams, or what's going on?
They just released the Big 33. We had a little something of that. East-West rosters, I believe I'll have out Friday for that coming up over the Memorial Day weekend. Well, the week before is East-West, then the Big 33. So working on that. Recruiting never stops. There's always somebody committing or somebody trying to pilfer a commit already. We've got a couple of those guys in the head.
Pilfer,
yeah. And so that's always fun. And
I think I sent you a text a week or so ago about a potential pilfering.
Yes, there's potential in that
right.
Pretty much every day,
right,
for our guys. But that's good. It's fun to report on stuff like that too. And so, so it's football's 24/7.
Well, you do a fabulous job. PennLive does a fabulous job.
Sports,
Thank you. I've been I've had a subscription for many years, and I guess I'm kind of
we need it.
Oh, I guess I'm kind of selling it because people go, I'm not buying an online blah blah. Well, it's a newspaper. You're just not opening it up in front of you. These are people that bought newspapers for decades and decades, So please do yourself a favor. It's very inexpensive over the course of a year. Get a PennLive subscription and see what Eric Epler's doing and his crew. Dan Sostek's fabulous.
Yeah,
So,
our guys are good. Evan Wheat, Amir Vaughn.
Yeah, right.
We're out every day covering something or putting features together, and we got a really strong group. And I'm having fun working with those guys.
Jeff, what are you doing? Let's give everybody just a second or two here.
Since I'm somewhat retired, I'm not doing a whole lot of anything other than
all right. That we can keep you on staff then, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And Bob, thank you very much. I appreciate you reaching out. Last thing I'll say is I spent months trying to get some guys together or gals, whoever, to talk about girls high school basketball. And I was just kind of throwing blanks, and shooting blanks. And you reached out and we really appreciate it. I think we did exactly what I wanted to do tonight and just kind of talk some local girls high school basketball. So thanks to our sponsors. Let me run through the sponsors, then we'll let you guys go. Rickabaw's Electric, Payer Apparel, Ted's Bar and Grill, Freedom Financial, Wealth Management, The Tire Mart, Team PA, AAU Basketball, Tonino's Pizza, American Legion, Post 272, Hoffman Ford, Capital Region Insurance Agency, Modern Imprint, Sam Hartley Decking, Crystal Bob at Howard Hanna Real Estate, and Underdog Sports Bar and Grill. Thanks again to Altoona coach Chris Fleegle, Bob Bonner, Jeff Kaufman, Eric Epler. Thanks very much, guys.
Anytime.
Thank you, Jeff.
That was a great time. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thanks, Joe.
Yep. Take care. Yep.